Hello everybody and welcome. I'm assuming you clicked on this video to learn how to do Garden of Salvation 3-man, so let's waste no time and get right into it. Let's start with loadouts and more specifically skating. The first 3 encounters of this raid, we had at least one person skate, with the first and second encounter having us all skate multiple times. Once bubble skating is feasible, I would recommend having at least one warlock, with the other people being either warlock or hunter, all 3 using shatter/well skating. If you don't know how to do either, there are videos on how to do them. Now onto weapons. This isn't very important as you can use many different guns and still be successful. For the first 2 encounters, everyone should be running Eager's Edge Sword with 2 added clearing weapons. For the first encounter, I was running Witherhoard and Callous Mini Tool, but other options could be Trini Ghoul, Osteostriga, Reservoir Burst Fusions, and more. I'm going to talk about the weapons for different encounters when we get to those encounters. Next up is armor, and this is entirely your choice. There aren't many things that are required, but there are some things that might be useful to you that I'll get to later. Now onto the first encounter. But just before we do that, I'm assuming everyone knows how to do Garden of Salvation normally, and if not, I'd do that before running this 3-man. You know, when you load into the raid, kill the stuff at the portal, as normal, proceed through to the start of the first encounter. There are 2 ways to do this encounter, and one of them is super hard and is flawless, and the other one is easier and isn't flawless, but I'm going to go over the non-flawless one. Once again, everyone should have their skating loadout and 2 add clearing weapons. I would also recommend running anti-overload because there are overload minotaurs. You can normally just out-damage their healing, but it is easier with an overload mod. Start the encounter by tethering to one of these 3 boxes to open this door, and once that opens, the encounter actually starts. There are 4 main rooms, and for each room, you have 1 person that goes in first, clears all the adds, and 2 people that stay behind in the previous room, grabbing the Voltaic Overflow. In the footage you are seeing, I go to the second room first, skating over there as quickly as possible. Make sure you kill these hobgoblins first though, because if you don't, your sword will auto-aim to them and it will mess up your entire skate. This encounter is all about speed. You have to clear the adds and tether before the boss creates his 3rd Voltaic in each room, and if he does, you wipe. I would recommend having a hunter with stasis go here first, opposed to a well lock, since they have add clearing super. As soon as I go over there, I start clearing the adds. Whilst I am clearing the adds, my teammates, who are Dan and Glob, are grabbing the Voltaic Overflow. You need to designate who is picking up the first Voltaic Overflow and the second one, because it matters later on. In this case, Dan picks up his Voltaic Overflow and comes to the second room as soon as possible. There's a group of adds down here on the left that I left in order to save time. Dan goes and kills those. At this point, all the adds should be dead. When they are dead, a Hydra spawns, and upon killing that, the first tether, or the box to tether, should be open. Whilst me and Dan were clearing adds, Glob is back in the first room waiting for the second Voltaic Overflow to spawn. Once he gets it, he comes as quickly as possible into our room, skating across the gap to save time. Again, this encounter is about speed, so you must be quick. Me and Dan at this point should already be tethering and waiting for him to finish the tether. If we're all fast enough, the door opens before the 3rd Voltaic Overflow spawns. By the way, to do this the flawless way, you have to do all of that before the 2nd Voltaic Overflow spawns. Now, we're all in the second room, we just got the tether, and Dan and Glob have the Voltaic Overflow debuff. With Dan having the lower timer, since he picked it up before Glob, Dan proceeds into the next room and starts doing add clearing. This is almost identical to how we did it in the previous room, except for the first Voltaic Overflow you need to pick up. Since I'm the only one without the debuff, Glob sacrificed himself to take the first Voltaic Overflow. Once I res him, he goes into the 3rd room to help Dan. Once again, they clear all the adds and the Hydra and get ready for me. I'm now following the boss until he pukes his 2nd Overflow, then I pick it up and then book it over to Dan and Glob to finish the tether. The same thing happens in the 3rd room. Dan proceeds, but I sacrifice myself to pick up the first Voltaic Overflow, then join Dan. And once Glob gets the 2nd Overflow, he joins us to tether. For this 4th room, you only have to tether once to prevent the boss from spawning any more Voltaic Overflows. And you should only tether once, to allow the person with the Voltaic Overflow to let the debuff run its course. You have about 1 minute of standing around until this door opens on its own. While waiting that 1 minute, have everyone assign themselves one of the 3 Voltaic Overflows, with the person with the debuff getting the final one. Then once the door opens, be wary of the Cyclopses and have everyone pick up their Voltaic Overflow as you run to the end of the room. And with that, you have completed the first encounter. Yes, I did make this in Google Drawing, so please excuse the lack of formality. Now let's go through step by step. First, all 3 guardians tether to the open door. One person goes and clears ads whilst the others stay in the first room. Once the first player picks up the voltaic, they come to the next room. Once the second player picks up the voltaic, they come to the next room to open the door with tethering. First pickup goes to the next room, whilst the original ad clear and the second pickup stay in that room. Second pickup sacrifices to pick up voltaic, gets rezzed, and goes to the next room. Final player in that room picks up the final voltaic and then joins the others to open the door. That player stays with the person who sacrificed before to pick up the voltaics while the last player continues. The person who rezzed the sacrifice now sacrifices to pick up the voltaic. Upon being rezzed, they continue to the next room. The final player in the third room picks up the final voltaic and joins the other to tether one box. Wait until the door opens, then proceed through final run, and then you complete the encounter. With the first encounter done, it is on to the second encounter. If you don't know the skate strat of how to do this jumping puzzle really quickly, watch the video unfolding in front of your eyes. If you don't care, skip to the second encounter through timestamps. Now that we are on the second encounter, let's go over builds. Once again, you will need everyone to be able to skate, so Eager's head to a stasis / solar for hunters / warlocks isn't 100% needed, but without them this encounter becomes super hard. Just run them, please. For the first half of this encounter, you will need anti-barrier mods because there are barrier hobgoblins. I was running Arbless, but I would actually recommend a pulse / sidearm over RB because it takes a while for it to charge. Post-production alpha really quick. Obviously, these are the anti-barrier mods this season. For next season, I'm not quite sure what they'll be. Just run the anti-barrier mods of whichever season you're in. Your second weapon should be an ad-clear weapon. This could be a forbearance, witherhoard, anything you're competent with. Once you kill all the hobgoblins, which I'll explain when in a bit, you don't have to worry about berries anymore. And now just hydras and ads. When this happened, I switched over to Trinity Ghoul for ads and Heritage for hydras. Remember to keep your Eager's Edge sword on though. With that out of the way, let's get started. As per usual, there are 4 spires you need to defend. 1, 2, 3, and 4. With it working from spawn, aka 1, clockwise to 4. Think of it as a reverse baseball diamond. One player will be in charge of 1 and 2. One player will be in charge of 3, and one player will be in charge of 4. In this gameplay, Dan is in charge of 1 and 2, Glob of 3, and I'm 4. With that out of the way, let's get started. The aim of the first 2 minutes of this encounter is to get all of the portals open. To do this, you have to tether at both the start and the end point of the portal. So to open the portal from 1 to 2, you have to tether at both 1 and 2. When you start the encounter, 2 players will stay in 1, whilst the other person will skate to 2. Both sets of players clear ads at their location, and once all the ads are dead at 1, those 2 players tether and then proceed to 2. Whilst those 2 players are clearing their ads, the player at 2 clears the ads at 2, preferably killing all the ads before the players come from 1. Now, one of the players who cleared ads doesn't stop at 2, but skates all the way to 3. This is the defender of 3, or in this case, Glob. The other person who is killing ads at 1, in this case Dan, tethers with me, who went to 2 originally. Think of it kind of like the first encounter where you leapfrog. Once me and Dan tether, he goes back to 1 to clear the ads that spawn. At this point, they don't have shields, but they will soon. I, on the other hand, skate over to 3 to help clear the ads there. Once they are dead, me and Glob tether. Once we tether, I carry on to 4, and both Glob and Dan meet at 2 to refresh the Enlightened buff. If you don't remember to kill the ads with the shield, you must have the Enlightened buff, which you get from tethering. Okay, let's make sure we're all on the same page. I am now at 4, clearing ads, and both Glob and Dan have both just tethered at 2 and are clearing ads at 3 and 1 respectively. Got it? Okay. Once Dan and Glob finish tethering, Glob makes his way to me, and by the time he reaches me, I should have cleared all the ads. Once he reaches me, we tether. Now all the portals are open, and things get much easier but harder to explain. At this point, it's important to understand the flow of ads in this encounter. Look at the bottom left of your screen. When it says Undergrowth Defense is deployed, there will be 2 sets of ads at each conflux, with one conflux getting the Angelics. The sets of ads involve 3 goblins and a minotaur. If you have angelics, call it out. Once people clear their ads, they can come help you clear your angelics. And when you finish killing angelics, you guys are together and you can tether. This part of the encounter is more up to thinking on the fly. For example, in this section, I finish my ads and go back to 1 to help Dan. Once done there, we tether to reset the buff, and then I return to 4 to tether with Glob, who cleared his ads too and needs an enlightened buff. Once the defenses are deployed again, I clear my ads and see Glob taking damage, so I go to help him clear ads, we tether, and then I return to my area. Again, if you kill all your ads, you are safe until Undergrowth Defenses are deployed again, meaning there's a new set of ads. Another example of what might happen, Dan needs to defend both 1 and 2, and Hydras are at 2. I tell him I got 1, and he's just worried about 2. After clearing my ads, I clear ads at 1. There are no sets of rules for this part of the encounter. Just make sure everyone's okay with buffs, ads, and Hydras. After 4 sets of Hydras are killed, you must progress to the center of the map. There are 3 phases of Undergrowth attacking in the middle, and to tether you must kill the Angelics. During the first phase there's a 1 Angelic, during the second 2, and during the third 3. Kill these ads quickly as possible, and once your ads are under control, tether. They don't all have to be dead to be under control, just make sure you always have the buff. If Undergrowth defenses haven't been deployed and there are no current ads, just keep tethering to make sure your buff is always at a high amount. Once all 3 waves are complete, you have completed the second encounter. Once again, I'm going to re-explain this encounter with the map. First, you start the encounter, and 1 and 2 defender and 3 defender clear ads at 1, while 4 defender goes to 2. Once ads are cleared at 1, tether, and then 3 defender proceeds to 3, whilst 1-2 defender tethers with 4 defender at 2. 1-2 defender returns to 1, and 4 defender clears ads at 3 with 3 defender. Upon clearing ads, tether at 3. 3 defender and 1 defender return to 2 to tether, whilst 4 defender goes to 4 to clear ads. 3 defender goes to 4 to clear ads and then tether. Now that all the portals are open, call it when you have Hydras and when your buff is low so you can refresh. Once 4 waves are cleared, go to the middle. Once here, tether as much as possible and kill Angelics when they spawn. And then once the 3rd wave is killed, you complete the encounter. The 3rd encounter is probably the most similar to the normal raid, just everyone has to do both Gambit and Eyes team. But first, loadouts. There are 2 ways to do this. One is slightly more consistent and the other is slightly less consistent. The person who does the first motes doesn't have much time to collect all the motes before the Vex starts sacking. If they get a bad Minotaur spawn, then sometimes the goblins will sack, causing a wipe. You can solve this by having the well-locked sword skate to the first conflux, which leaves more room for error. This obviously means less damage since they might not get heavy bricks. The in-between method is having them run an Icarus dash, which is better than just normally running. On our completed run, we didn't use Eagers, but you can do whatever you want. We did use Icarus dash. It's best to have a well lock, and all hunters should run Golden Gun with Star Eaters, not Blade Barrage, since you get a bunch of immunes, and other warlocks can either run a second well, which we didn't find very helpful, or a Slova Bomb. For damage, we use Storm Chaser, though other linears would work well, and Izzy's Hot Swap would also probably work too, except for the explosion wouldn't do much damage. The fact of the matter is you have 4 phases before Enrage wipes you, so you have a lot of time for damage. For your other weapons, have something to kill ads, kill Minotaurs, and shoot eyes. I used a slug shotgun for eyes, and I wouldn't recommend anything else, since they are good for killing the Minotaurs when they spawn as well. My other weapon was Trainee Ghoul. You can also run double special with Witherhorde and a slug shotgun, but again, whatever you're comfortable with is fine. Now onto the explanation. Each player will run Gambit Team and Eyes Team. During Gambit Team, get 10 motes before depositing, and you must solo Eyes. There are 3 instances where one person will be doing Gambit, one person will be defending, either in middle or at the conflux, and one person doing Eyes. You can't be Gambit Team and Eyes Team right after, because then no one is defending the conflux. This is how we did it. One person was first gambit and third eyes, one person was first eyes and second gambit, and one person was second eyes and third gambit. In the footage you were seeing, I am second eyes and third gambit. Let's look at a map for callouts. As you can see, it is the same map as before, except I rotated it so that the top of the map is now the washing machine. This is the most identifiable area of the map, so we based our callouts on that. You don't need callouts, but if someone can't find a Minotaur but you see it, it saves time over saying, it's like right where you are but like down. The Minotaurs, by the way, spawn in one of these 4 locations. This one is top left, this one top right, this one bottom left, and this one bottom right. That is the same callout for the confluxes, just farther up these roads. With all that out of the way, let's finally start the encounter. Start by tethering and watch out for the boss emerging. As you might know, he can kill you. About 3 seconds after the boss spawns, Minotaurs will spawn. Just one. The easiest way for me to find the Minotaur was to listen out for audio cues, since there's a sort of shimmer when they spawn. Since I wasn't Gambit team and didn't yet have a job, I just call out for Gambit team person. Top left, and whilst me and Dan, who is first Gambit, are killing the Minotaur, Glob is following the boss to the first eye location. He completes eyes as normal, picking up the debuff from shooting the eyes, and then goes to the middle and starts doing Gambit team. Once Dan picks up 10 motes, which should happen around the time eyes is being completed, he proceeds to the conflux and starts killing ads as soon as possible. Once again, this timing is pretty hard. Having an Icarus dash is extremely helpful. One helpful tip we found is that sometimes you can place a wither horde on the floor in front of enlightened ads and it will stop them. Additionally, you can punch them to slow you down if you run out of the enlightened buff before someone is there to defend. With Dan collecting 10 modes and Glob having done first eyes, the first rotation is complete. Now on to second rotation, where I am eyes, Glob is Gambit, and Dan is defending the conflux. The second and third mode phase are much more forgiving time-wise than the first one. You shouldn't wait around to test that, but trust me, it is. Everything else is exactly the same, except for first Gambit is defending and killing ads at the conflux, not in the middle. Meaning it can get hectic at times. Once I clear my eyes and Glob grabs his motes, it's under the third rotation. Dan should only leave his conflux when he is sure Glob will get there on time. If he leaves early, even if his buff is already gone, he can no longer slow the ads, giving Glob less time. But once the switch happens and second Gambit is defending, Dan goes to do eyes and I start doing Gambit. Third phase goes the same, and once I deposit my 10 motes, the consecrated mine is drawn to the conflux. Damage is the same as usual, not much to say here. Hunters reload dodge, warlocks pop nova immediately so you don't block damage and keep walking forward. Once the consecrated mine reaches the middle, the damage phase is up and you rinse and repeat. Nothing changes in the other phases, so keep up until it's dead and you carry on to the Sanctified Mind. Start the encounter by tethering. Player 1 does first eyes and follows the boss, whilst player 2 goes Gambit and kills Minotaur, and player 3 defends by helping to clear ads. Once player 2 gets 10 motes, they go to the conflux to clear ads. Player 1 now does Gambit, whilst player 3 does eyes, with player 2 clearing ads at the conflux. Once player 1 completes Gambit, they switch with player 2 so they can do eyes now. Player 1 is now defending, player 2 is now on eyes, and player 3 is now doing Gambit. Upon player 3 getting 10 motes, they bank at the conflux and damage starts. Follow the boss for as long as possible. Remember to keep moving until he's immune, then rinse and repeat. Once the boss is dead, you finish the encounter. Now you are on to Sanctified Mind, but once again, let's go over Loadout. It depends which role you have. There are 3 roles: Runner 1, Runner 2, and Defender. Runner 1 and Runner 2 run the same stuff. For damage, our team ran Izzy's Rocket Hot Swap with the Defender running G-Horn, but I've also done it using linears, and I'd say it's much more consistent, since you don't have to Billy. You should have a Hunter running Tether for the debuff, and a Warlock running Well. Remaining Hunters run Golden Gun with Star Eater, and remaining Warlocks run Nova Bomb. Also, if you have any Garden of Salvation armor, run Enhanced Relay Defender. It gives you a big buff to damage. In the end, Sanctified Mind has around 5 million health, and with 3 people in 4 phases, each person needs to deal around 416,000 damage per phase. So whatever gets you there should work. For the rest of the time, you have to deal with Angelics, Cyclopses, and ads. Running Snipers for Angelics and Cyclops and Trini Ghoul for ads is what I did. But you might be thinking, how did you run Trini Ghoul and Izzy's? You don't. rally the flag with your add clear weapons and your rocket launcher. So you have a kinetic sniper and Trini Ghoul and a rocket launcher. Once you get to damage, swip off of Trini Ghoul and replace your kinetic sniper with Izzy. When you do this, you don't lose special ammo since it's a sniper to sniper switch. To sum it up, you have both runners rally with kinetic sniper and Trini with a rocket, and the defender with G-Horn, sniper, and add clear weapon. Once damage starts, runners switch off of Trini and onto Izzy's. Have one tether and one well, with other hunters running Golden Gun Star Eaters and other warlocks running Nova Bomb. Have Garden of Salvation armor with enhanced relay defender for extra damage, and with that out of the way, let's start explaining. Start the encounter and clear all the adds. Once they're all dead, the spots on the boss's body will open. Shoot the left one first, and runner 1 will enter. One thing to be aware of is that whenever you shoot one of its crit spots, a Cyclops will spawn on the side that you shot. So if you shoot his last crit spot, the Cyclops on the left will spawn. They'll spawn either up here or up here. So kill them quick because they can one-shot. The person who's teleported in now clears the adds in that area until they get 10 motes. Once they do, call to be pulled out. The people who are not running shoot the crit spot, and that person will be pulled back to the arena, and runner 2 enters the portal. Runner 2 does the same, whilst runner 1 banks, then clears adds. At this point, the enemies with shield will start to spawn. Once runner 2 gets 10 motes, call out to get pulled back. Remember, each conflux needs 30 motes, so if you get 10 motes each time, you only need to go into each portal 3 times. This is where you can do 2 different things. Either A, have runner 1 go into the left portal and get 10 more motes, completing the left conflux, or B, have runner 1 go into the left portal to get 10 motes and complete the left conflux, and have the defender go into right portal. This speeds up the encounter and allows room for error, but leaves a crunch on runner 2 who has to clear 2 Cyclopses and a wave of adds and then needs to pull both runners. We decided to do both, but be warned, it's definitely a crunch. Regardless of what strat you do, when left runner needs to be pulled, pull them, and now left conflux is completed. If it's completed, enemies won't sack there, but they'll just congregate around it. If you did strat A, you do the same thing as left side, this time having runner 2 going in the first and third time, and runner 1 going in the second time. But if you did strat B, now you just need runner 2 to go in, and then runner 1 to go in. Remember to always get 10 motes. Once 30 motes have been grabbed and deposited into the right one, Sanctified Mind will open up his tether. You have about 80 seconds to clear the adds and tether, much more than you would think, but don't wait. Make sure to clear the adds before tethering. You also can't tether until the Angelic is killed anyways. When tethering, I would recommend Warlocks being closer to the boss since they can hover and put rifts in the goo. Some tethers are more difficult than others, and I would recommend assigning each person close, middle, or far, with close being close to the origin of the tether, so the conflux, middle being in between, and far being the tether to the Sanctified Mind. Once the tether is complete, you can damage him. If you and your team have the enhanced relay defender mod, go over to the opposite tether that you just did, so the opposite conflux. So if you tether at blue, go to orange. This is because you only get the benefit of that mod if you are at an active conflux, and when you tether, the conflux you just tethered at becomes inactive. If you don't have the mod, you can do DPS wherever you like. Warlocks should put down their well ASAP since you will be in the radial area and fluid. Hunters should tether soon as well, preferably before the boss rises so you have more time to damage. Again, you can damage him before he rises, so if you want to throw in a quick rocket, be my guest. Once he rises, aim for his crit spot in the middle. He'll remain in this state for 10 seconds before he becomes immune again. After damage, you could rebuild if you want, but our team opted not to, and just get used to having to survive on the scattered rocks. Switch back to your normal weapons and get ready to rinse and repeat. I don't think the boss stomps, so feel free to get ammo from the milk near the boss. Another thing, when you're defending, keep moving. The boss fires volleys of 3 shots, and whilst one doesn't do much damage, the volley can get you to half health really quick. That's basically it. Once again, you have 4 phases of damage. This encounter takes a while, but once you defeat him, you have officially completed 3-man Garden of Salvation. Once again, I'll explain this with a map. Start the encounter and clear all of the adds. Once the crit spots open, shoot the left one and runner 1 enters the portal. Once they get 10 motes, shoot the left crit spot, they bank and clear adds, and runner 2 enters the portal. Once they get 10 motes, shoot the left crit spot, they bank and clear adds, and runner 1 enters the portal again. Once they get 10 motes, shoot both crit spots. Runner 1 banks while runner 2 enters the right side. Once they get 10 motes, they return, and then runner 1 enters. Once they get 10 motes, they return and runner 2 enters, and then once runner 2 returns, damage starts. Switch weapons if you need to, then clear all the adds, and then start the tether. Go to the opposite conflux to deal damage. Once damage is complete, rinse and repeat until the boss is dead, and you've completed the final encounter. Thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful to you, leave a like. This took a while to write and make. Have fun, and I wish you luck on your 3-man. Bye!